Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Senate Transportation. Please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, and our featured guest today, Senator Long, would you do the honors?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we will open up the hearing on House Bill 612, and the prime sponsor, welcome. Good afternoon, Representative.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Senator Ricciardi and members of the Finance Committee. For the record, I am Representative Dan Vayu. I represent Hillsborough District 34 in Amherst. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce House Bill 612. This bill addresses an important but often overlooked issue for youth operators transitioning to an adult driver's license. It offers a practical solution and saves time and reduces unnecessary hassle for both drivers and the Department of Motor Vehicles. Under current law, if a youth operator who is turning 21 their birthday falls on a weekend, they are unable to obtain a standard horizontal driver's license without making a second trip to the DMV. If they renew even one day before their birthday, the system issues a youth operator license, the vertical oriented license, for another 5 years, requiring them to go back to the DMV to get a duplicate license that shows that they're now over 21 in the horizontal orientation, which will then bear the tag of duplicate. If they wait until after their birthday, their license technically expires, creating legal risk for students and young workers, particularly those living or studying out of state, as they'll be in danger of driving on an expired license. HB 612 is a simple fix. It allows youth operators to renew up to 30 days before their 21st birthday and receive a temporary license valid for driving purposes with the adult license issued on or after their birthday. The temporary license may be printed at the DMV or acknowledged via online transaction receipt, which they would receive if they renewed via the website. The temporary license would then be that receipt printed out along with their expired license, which would serve also as proof of renewal. This change reduces the duplicate DMV visits and workload. It prevents young drivers from operating with expired licenses. It aligns with our processes and modern expectations and common sense scheduling. This is a one-time modification cost to the DMV, which the Department of Safety confirms can be absorbed within their budget without impacting general revenue or requiring an appropriation. HB 612 passed the House unanimously on consent 16-0 in the committee. It's a bipartisan pro-efficiency measure that reflects well on how government can respond to small, impactful problems with clarity and common sense. And that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from members of the committee? I have one. So the Department of Motor Vehicles is not here, but I don't want to make any assumptions. Did you speak with them? Are they fine with this?
Yes, we worked together putting this together, and it's something they are definitely supportive of. Even Director Marasco has dealt with this in his own family. So it's definitely a real issue, and it creates a lot of unnecessary extra work at the DMV, especially for kids who want to come in and get their horizontal license, who want to feel like they're adults, rather than having to work with the horizontal license another 5 years.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak to 612? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on 612, and we have a little time, so I think we'll go in executive session. If I could have a motion, and we'll start moving things along.
So moved.
Okay. So moved from Senator Fenton, seconded from Senator McConkey. So let's just do what we just heard since it's fresh in our mind. So I'd like a motion on House Bill 612 FN.
I move ought to pass on House Bill 612.
Second.
Okay. All right, you got that? Okay. All those in favor of ought to pass on 612, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Okay. May I have a motion for consent?
Second.
Okay, moved by Senator Ward, seconded by Senator Fenton. All those in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, none opposed. Who would like to take the bill out? Senator Fenton. All right. Let's go to, we still have a little time. Let's go to House Bill 105 FN. This, for, just to give some background for people listening, this is relative to creating a new conservation license plate and directing the additional fee to the Cyanobacteria Mitigation Loan and Grant Fund. And we had a lot of testimony, both in favor and in opposition. There was some conflict with the moose plates. And at the end of the day, in talking to the sponsor of the bill, they asked that we re-refer it so it could continue to be worked on. And that would be my recommendation if we have a motion.
Madam Chair, I move re-refer House Bill.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Senator Long. All those in favor for re-refer on House Bill 105, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Motion for consent?
So moved.
Okay, all right. We didn't get to that part yet. So, Senator Fenton and Senator McConkey took first and second. And then Senator Ward, will you take it out?
Sure.
Okay, Senator Ward. Okay. Let's see, how much time do we have? Okay, this is great. Let's go right in order. I'm looking for a motion on House Bill 259. To refresh everyone's memory, that was relative to increasing the number of handicap license plates and placards the Department of Motor Vehicles may issue to individuals. There was a little bit of confusion on why one would need 5 license plates. And so would someone like to make a motion so we can open it up for discussion?
ITL.
Okay. We have a motion from Senator McConkey for inexpedient to legislate and a second from Senator Fenton. All those in favor of inexpedient to legislate, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, none opposed.
Motion consent.
Okay, I'll second the motion for consent. And Senator Fenton, will you take it out? Okay. Okay, we're going to move on. Our committee rolls so nicely, doesn't it? We're going to move on to House Bill 260 FN. This is relative to creating a commemorative license plate celebrating the 25th anniversary of Bunker Hill. There was one concern about the location of the plate and how long it would be there, and that's been alleviated. It's a year long. So I'm looking for, my motion would be ought to pass if I could have a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of ought to pass on House Bill 260, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, none opposed. Move consent. Okay,
Second.
Senator McConkey, will you take it out?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see the time. We still good, right? Okay. Let's go to House Bill 321 FN. This was relative to requiring the Division of Motor Vehicles to extend a fine payment period for certain motor vehicle violations from 30 days to 90 if the driver requests the extension. Yeah.
Madam Chair, I move re-refer on House Bill 351.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Anyone have a discussion?
Are we gonna work on it?
We're going to work on it.
Yeah.
There was-
I think I think the bill. I think it's a good bill. I think it needs a little work.
Okay.
It's a bill. 259?
Yeah.
321.
321. It's a real re-refer that it needs some work. And there were some unanswered questions, and I think if you go back in the hearing report, we discussed some of those unanswered questions that really we didn't get the answer to.
Sure.
Okay. So all those in favor of a re-refer on House Bill 321, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, none opposed?
Consent.
Okay. I'll second the consent, and I'll take that one out. Okay, now I think 4 more minutes. All right. Okay, we're gonna go to House Bill 452 FN. And I would like to make the motion and ask for a second so I can speak to the bill. Okay?
You gotta get a motion.
I make the motion of re-refer. Okay. I want to speak to this bill. I spoke to the sponsors of the bill, and this bill is not, it's not a good bill in that we have people that are hardworking, paying taxes, they've been properly vetted, and they are trying to have transportation to get to their job. They are on visas, be it a doctor, be it a student. They are hardworking people. I went diligently through the vetting process, and it is very good. But the reason I'm voting to re-refer it is I found out what the real problem is, and we need to fix it. So I'm going to give you a true story that happened a little less than a month ago, and this is really important. My friend was in New York City, and an illegal, not legal, not someone with a card, not a green card, not a visa, illegal immigrant with no intention of becoming legal, driving a BMW in an uninsured, unregistered car and 3D printed plates, ran through the light, pushed her car 4 blocks up. She was dragged out. Her airbags broke both of her arms. She is having a terrible time. So I spoke to the sponsors and I basically said, be a hero, not a heel. Your train left the station and it's on the wrong track. Replace this bill that you put forward with an enforcement mechanism so we can protect the people here in the state of New Hampshire should this happen here. Right now, the only thing we have is a $100 fine. We don't want that kind of behavior. We want to protect individuals. And her story gets even worse because he was not hurt, but he's trying to say he was to use her medical insurance. So for these reasons, I would like to see the bill replaced with enforcement mechanisms to truly do the work of the people of New Hampshire. And anybody have any comments on that?
So are you going to support re-refer is your motion? What's your motion?
To re-refer, to replace the current language with an enforcement mechanism to handle the problem that my friend just went through.
Okay, I would support yours. I had an amendment, but it's not ready to go yet, that I think corrected some of the issues also. And so I would go re-refer because I have other ideas also, and we could talk about
Okay.
those and work on it.
Okay, because the current language in that bill is nothing that I could support. It does more harm than good to hardworking, vetted people that, again, I can't say it enough, are paying taxes, following the rules, and working hard to become legal people here in our state. Okay?
I'm not opposed to what you're telling me,
Okay.
but I'm saying that there's also a possibility to straighten the language out in this bill that might get you to that point also. But I'm not prepared to do that today in time. So
Okay.
I'll support your
Okay.
re-refer so that we can have a vigorous conversation as opposed to just a one solution.
Right, and anybody who knows me, this is just food for thought. You can ask Senator Waters from last year. Never give me an amendment right before, because it doesn't work for me. I have to really
That's why
read through it,
I'm
yeah.
I'm not bringing the
Okay.
amendment today.
All right.
I had asked for one to be drafted, but wasn't
Okay.
in time. So
All right, all good
I
then.
will support re-refer.
Okay, and we have a second. Yes, so all those in favor of re-refer on House Bill 452, please say aye. Aye. And none opposed?
Move consent.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Would you like to take it out?
Oh, I don't think you want me to take this out.
I'll take it out.
Okay,
I'm just saying to be fair to you.
it's on consent. All right. Let's see, now we have to close we're going to come out of executive session. Could I have a motion, please?
Move to leave executive session.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And now we are going to open up the hearing on House Bill 713 FN, and we welcome the sponsor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Jerry Stringham. I represent Grafton 3rd District, which covers Lincoln, Woodstock, and Easton. House Bill 713 directs the Department of Transportation to place mile markers along the 32-mile iconic stretch of Route 112, known as the Kacamangus Highway. This beautiful, hilly, and treacherous road runs through the heart of the White Mountains, where there is no cell service and no radio service. So when accidents or breakdowns occur, which aren't unusual, police and ambulance providers report substantial delays in locating the vehicles. Just typically they find out about it because a Good Samaritan typically calls 911 after they've traveled 5 or more miles from the site of the accident or breakdown, and then refers the location through the phone call with such vague terms like by the big rock, by the big turn, by the campground, by the hiking trail. And the emergency responders sometimes find themselves in a bit of a scavenger hunt trying to find where the incident occurred. And in some case, even the wrong service is dispatched, since the entire length of the Kacamangus is actually served by 2 different police departments. So what this bill does is put mile markers along the road so that when somebody's trying to help, they have at least a mile marker identification, which should shorten the response time significantly. This bill was both requested and spoken upon by the Lincoln Police Department, but also Linwood Ambulance and emergency road providers from the area. And Senator McConkey handles both ends of the Kacamangus, so I'm sure you're aware of this issue. The mile marker project would be 100% federal funds and no state funds involved. Their Public Works unanimously supported the bill in the House, as it addresses a major safety risk for our citizens and, importantly, our visitors. The amendment provides the department with the flexibility to combine this project with others to efficiently utilize available funds. The bill passed finance unanimously and passed on the floor of the House twice by unanimous voice vote. So with that, I'd be happy to expand or take any questions that you may have.
Senator Fenton?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. We have an updated fiscal note dated May 5th. Have you read the updated fiscal note?
I don't think I have.
Everyone on the committee
me
have
see.
the updated fiscal note?
Yes.
So the updated fiscal note says it's about 716,000. And in the note, it does say the federal highway funded capital program is constrained. So the addition of this work will displace work that is already programmed. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the Department of Transportation is here to talk about that as well. I think the finance note is based on certain length and mile markers every 0.2 of a mile, and obviously one of the reasons why the amendment extended the length of time was so that the setup with perhaps other projects like mile markers along Route 49 could be done simultaneously. So it does provide enough period of time for them to choose what's the most appropriate time to do this.
Senator McConkey?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you for being here. I just wanted to draw your attention to the word treacherous. I view it as a lovely section of road, not treacherous. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony. And the chair will now call the New Hampshire DOT, Lee, I don't want to pronounce your name wrong, Barrados. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. For the record, my name is Lee Baronis. I'm the state traffic engineer and administrator for the Bureau of Traffic at the New Hampshire DOT. I wanted to present myself in case there were questions, and if it pleases the committee, I could provide a little bit basic background. Stop me if I'm getting into too deep into the weeds, but you know, I just want to make sure you're as informed as possible. When we talk about mile markers, I think most of us know what those are. They're mile points, mile posts, whatever you want to call them. The Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is my authority, calls them reference location signs. They show the distance from the origin of the route to the point where you're at sequentially, and most of them show the route shield and the cardinal direction, east, west. I think we're all familiar with the ones on the interstate. I-93 north, mile 26.2. The purpose is to assist a motorist in knowing how far they've traveled and the distance to their destination. They're also used as a reference for engineering. And also in this case, where the emphasis is for public safety, to identify the location of an incident, for callers reporting an incident, and for responders to find the reported location. New Hampshire has a mix of mile markers on the road. Again, we're familiar with the ones on the interstates. Those are called enhanced reference location signs because they do include the cardinal direction and the route shield, which is useful for when you're calling 911 and you don't know where you are. You can say, it says 112 east, in the case of the Kankamangas. We've had recent projects that have updated them on the interstates. We're also updating them on the turnpikes. Our focus has been on the divided highways, essentially to do the most good for the most people. We have other roads in the state that do have mile markers, but they're not a consistent program, and many of them are very dated. Many are very small and hard to read. So that's something that is always on our slate for improvements as priorities dictate. You know, we find that, like I said, high volume roads have been our emphasis, but there is also a rationale to put them on the lower volume but more remote ones where you don't have as many landmarks. And we can rattle off a whole slew of them in the state, not just the Kankamangas, but you know, Route 20, let's see, was it, yeah, 26 from Colebrook to Errol, 25C, Piermont to Warren, Route 9, Keene to Hopkinton, US 3, Lancaster to Pittsburgh. So there's a lot of roads that we could find use for such mile markers. In this particular case, we talked, as it went through the House, we had an amendment to kind of accommodate the standards that the DOT has in New Hampshire, as well as the standards in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. We proposing mile markers at 0.2 intervals, which is the standard on the interstate. These would be placed on one side of the roadway, double faced, so they can be viewed from either direction. So no matter where you are, you're no more than 0.2 from the sign. So you can kind of get that level of fine tune your locations, which when in an emergency and in the dark or in inclement weather, it really helps responders to know, especially if a car went off the road and isn't visible from the roadway. Just to quickly summarize some advantages and disadvantages. As we said, addition of mile markers along a roadway with limited landmarks, and roads that are popular with folks that are unfamiliar with the area provides that additional location benefit. And the markings also assist us with engineering and maintenance locations, so we can refer to culverts by their mile marker and then be able to find them again. Some of the drawbacks, just to be objective, this, as we mentioned, the project would displace other safety projects that are already programmed. using the established prioritization process. There is perhaps some drawback in that we would have additional signs on a scenic roadway. Our intent is to put them on the southern side of the road, so more of the vistas are on the north side. And then they may not be visible under snowbanks, especially on the Kank where we get a lot of snow. Can only put them so tall, so that is a potential, not a drawback, but a neutralization of the benefit. And as I mentioned before, there are a lot of roads that could deserve them, which is why we, in the amendment, it's now expanded to include all of 112 from Bath to Conway as part of the project, and that's what the fiscal note presents. That's my summary, and I'm happy to take questions.
Senator McConkey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the bill started out by putting in mile markers, and we're amending now, am I correct? So mile 1, there'll be mile 1, 1.2, 1.4, you're planning on doing that. And I see a fiscal note here, when the sponsor told me that federal funds were going to pay this. Are federal funds going to pay for this enlarged program of adding the 10th of a mile signs? Or is this coming from the Federal Highway Fund, or where's the money for this coming from?
Yes, this would work its way into the program that's uses federal highway funds. There are a couple of different places we can insert it. More than likely, we would use the Highway Safety Improvement Program funds, which are dedicated to, by its name, highway safety improvements. This would qualify as a highway safety improvement, and it would work its way into that portfolio of projects as they come up. The other projects in that group are intersection improvements, rumble strips, guardrail improvements, the guardrail. Yeah.
Thank you. So did I hear you say at the end of your testimony that you're going to go, if this were to move forward, that you would include more distance than just the Kangamangas?
The bill specifies Lincoln to Conway,
Okay.
but there's an advantage of efficiencies of scale to include all of 112 from Bath to Woodstock as well.
And if you could just enlighten me, what sort of distance extra is that?
Well, that essentially doubles it. Overall, it's a 56-mile stretch. We propose 53 miles of mile markers. We would omit them from where the development of Woodstock begins to where you cross into the
If
forest.
So there are real problems on the Kank with cell reception, and that can vary. It can vary almost every trip I take through there. So once I get out to Lincoln, is it the same problem from that point out to Bath? Because it is.
Yeah, there's that's my understanding. And as you leave Woodstock, you start to lose cell reception. Regardless of whether you have cell reception or not, locating an incident on a road that has few landmarks, mile markers provide a great benefit. So whether you're there on a phone making a call, or whether you're had to drive a few miles to make a call, being able to indicate where the incident is has benefits.
I guess if I could.
Yes, of course.
Is it safe to say that the hit against the federal highway funds probably would be not half, because it's more difficult where you're going through the Kank, but you could probably eliminate 30% of it if the project only went from point A to point B? And then at some point, if the safety was so needed, I'm a little protective of my federal highway funds.
Understood.
Safety funds are used all the time for intersections. And I see the need, and I'm just wondering, was the department in full support of this from, is the department, was department neutral or in full support of this project? Any idea?
The department is neutral. If this is a priority of the legislature, then that's what we respond to. There is, the 10-year plan, and there are programs within the 10-year plan that give the DOT latitude as to what smaller projects can be added under, like the safety program, or there are others, the resurfacing programs and bridge maintenance programs. We can prioritize those within the 10-year plan.
Thank you, sir. I just have a question for the representative, so after everyone's had their questions, maybe I could ask the
Okay,
representative.
does anyone else have a question? Okay, I do. You hit on the question that I had when you mentioned the 10-year plan. So where I'm all about safety and I see the value of this bill, but we also have, very tough budget. Everybody's been asked to reduce. So the fiscal note worries me. And then what worries me is displacing other safety projects. So I guess I'm concerned if you fix, one thing, are you going to break something else? And so my thought was, would it make sense to put this in the 10-year plan and look at it, down the road so that it could be funded properly? That's my question.
I understand the question. Trying to speak as objectively as I can. I suspect that this was raised because of the concerns of the public safety groups that wanted something as soon as possible, recognizing that and trying to advance something that hadn't advanced as well as they had hoped. I think that, I don't want to speak for the sponsor, but that's my understanding. As far as the overall pot of federal highway funds, that is, it is addressed in a priority fashion. One of the ways is the 10-year plan. And then within that are the programs which has DOT latitude. And then there are other mechanisms to move projects, sometimes that, through legislative action. And we respond to those. We try to make it all fit. We try to make use of every dollar of federal money that we're able to acquire. And how well this fits into that sometimes depends on, it's kind of like cooking in the kitchen. You got to figure out what ingredients you have and what you can make use of. So I'm not sure I have a good answer for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more follow-up if I could. Sir, it's going through federal lands, the Kank is, but the state of New Hampshire owns the road. Do they own the road? And do the feds pay any maintenance of that road?
We do have a right of way through the property, so the roadway and its accessories are ours to maintain. There are federal funding programs in addition to the federal highway, known as Federal Lands Access FLAP program, Federal Lands Access Program, which is another source of not earmarked funds, but funds that are associated with a specific purpose. And so those would also potentially be useful for this.
Senator Ward, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very familiar with the area, so I can see that mile markers will be very helpful. I have a question on section 4 here, where they've got information on mile marker designs, proposed locations, and traffic impacts. What kind of traffic impact do you expect?
During the construction, I think that's what that was referencing.
Or just during construction?
During the construction,
Okay,
right.
fine, because I can't see that
What
the
we-
mile marker would cause any kind of confusion.
The only traffic impact may be as if a vehicle strikes it
Yeah,
when
okay.
it goes off the road.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your
Thank you.
testimony. Representative, would you please come back because Senator McConkey has a question for you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So the bill, I'll give you a moment to settle in there, Representative, I apologize. The bill came through transportation, not through Public Works in the House.
No, it came through Public
It
Works.
did come through Public Works, and the vote in Public Works
It was unanimous.
was unanimous.
I think it was 18-0, I think.
Was there, when you brought the bill through initially, were you looking for mile markers, or were you looking for all this extra delineation every 1/10 of a mile?
The, the bill called for mile markers, and even the final bill says it's not more than 1 mile. The exact distance between mile markers was, really, we're going to leave it to the experts, the Department of Transportation, to decide when that should be done. It could have been a half a mile, or it could have been 2/10 of a mile. We certainly knew the interstate highways were at 2/10 of a mile.
Sure. And if I could just follow, so the, and Public Works, when it came to Public Works, that they knew the total scope of the project and that it was running from Bath to Conway?
We discussed the entire length going to Bath.
Okay.
Most of the road between Woodstock and Bath has no cell service either at this point. So there may be a couple of sporadic places where there is. So we often run into similar issues there. I would say probably not quite to the same degree as along the Kent, because it's a more popular stretch of the roadway.
And my last, if I could, was there any conversation brought up that we might be able to involve our federal delegation in securing funds as opposed to, so we were.
Additional funds rather than the existing federal highway funds?
Yes.
No, there was no discussion of that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing this forward.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak to House Bill 713? Seeing none, we will close the hearing on 713. And does anyone need a recess before we go back in executive session?
Please. Do we have a couple minutes?
Yes, we will go into recess. Yes,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
turn this off.
Yes.
Good afternoon again, everyone. We've had a motion to come back into executive session, and the motion has been seconded. And we might as well start with the bill we just heard, House Bill 713 FN, and I'm looking for a motion.
To pass.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's out to pass. Provided funding is okay.
Is this, I have a question. Is this gonna go to finance?
Yes.
It is going to finance.
It has to go.
I'll support the motion for discussion.
So on this discussion, although I think it's a great bill and would like to see it pass, I don't really think it will pass finance. And my one concern is, it's unfortunate the timing that this is our last session, because I think that we should be looking into see through the federal delegation if there isn't funding there. But this is why we have executive session. I'm looking for other opinions, and I just don't want you to be disappointed, when it goes to finance. So, any other comments?
Why not let finance make the decision? If they can't support it, then they,
I was thinking of going to re-refer, or that we could hold, but we're not meeting again. It is a horrible piece of road to send your family down, and I can tell you every time that I do, if I have a family member that lands in Lincoln, especially on an evening, I want to hear from them immediately when they get there. So I'm, as much as I would like to re-refer this, I will, I'll support ought to pass.
I don't like kicking the can down the road to finance per se, because we can't make up our minds. However, I think the merit of the bill is there. The mile markers make sense. It's a lot of money. It could displace other programs that said in the fiscal note, but I'm happy to let finance make that decision. So I will support the ought to pass if that's something we want to do.
All right, then we have the motion of ought to pass by Senator Ward. We have a second by Senator McConkey. All those in favor of ought to pass on House Bill 713, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed?
Move consent.
Second?
All those in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. Senator McConkey, will you take it out?
Thank you.
Okay. Now we are going to go to House Bill 461. I'm going to make the motion, if that's okay, to get the ball rolling, and for discussion, because I'd like to speak to the reason for my motion. My motion is inexpedient to legislate.
Second that.
Okay, we have a second from Senator Fenton. So while well-intended and well-meaning, even our current administration, President Trump, put out a document saying that we really need to keep all these different languages in our division of motor vehicles. It came right from his administration. I believe there's only one state that has removed all of the manuals in other languages, and now they have to have interpreters for everything. So for these reasons, I really believe the bill should be inexpedient to legislate.
Madam Chair, if I may, hearing testimony and looking at this bill, I actually think this bill would make our roads more dangerous, with people not being able to take the test in that language. And we also heard some interesting testimony that, the governor's own website translates to hundreds of different languages. And I think it's important that, you be able to take your driver's exam in the language you're comfortable with, because, I think that would ultimately make you a safer driver.
Yes, and I also, we have a workforce shortage. We need people to be able to be at work, and we need them to be on the road safe, and we need them to have their accessibility to their license that has been properly and thoroughly vetted. Are there any other comments from the committee? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of inexpedient to legislate, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, So this will.
Are you opposed to consent? Senator McConkey?
No, I am not.
Move consent?
Second, all those in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, none opposed? I'll take it out. All right, moving right along. House Bill 489, this is relative to allowing volunteer emergency workers to use rear-facing blue lights on their private vehicles when involved in emergency services. Do I have a motion?
ITL.
Motion ITL second.
Okay. There's a motion for an expedient to legislate. I'd like to speak to it if I may. While I have the greatest and utmost respect for all of our volunteers for EMS and for fire, the opposition was too strong. There was not enough demonstrated in the hearing on why it would make things safer. And what did, in doing some research, what I did see is that a lot of, not that most people are going to do the right thing, you know, I'm going to believe that, but there are some bad actors. And one of the biggest concerns I had is that Amazon is losing money as Massachusetts shoppers are getting their blue lights off of Amazon and putting them in their vehicles. And this is really a slippery slope. And again, I can't thank all of our EMTs and everybody, volunteers, but I just don't want people confused. I don't think this is ready. Our law enforcement is not in favor of this at all. So for those reasons, that I support the ITL. Would anyone else like to speak to that? Okay. All right. All in favor of ITL, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none?
Move consent?
I'll second that. Senator Long, do you want to take it out?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Let's see, what do we have left?
632.
Okay. Relative to permitting healthcare providers affiliated with the Veterans Administration to certify medical accommodations on behalf of veterans residing in New Hampshire.
Move out to pass?
Second.
Okay, we have a ought to pass by Senator Fenton, a second from Senator McConkey. All those in favor for ought to pass, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Move consent.
Second?
All those in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Senator Fenton will take that one out. While we are in executive session, is there any further discussion on anything that anyone would like to say?
Madam Chair, thank you. Thank the Transportation Committee for a long, robust session.
And I want to say how we're glad to have you today, but I want to include Senator Prentice. It's a real pleasure to work with all of my colleagues here. I think we've done great work and we're done. So let's come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're now adjourned.
Good job, Vivian. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you guys were awesome.
Okay, I have to go back
Thank
here.
you.
Oh,
Thank you.
certainly. Thank you. Where do you have to go to?
Things,
Finance?
no. Things are happening so fast. I don't have time to write and get my chart and get all the things.
You can always
written
yell to
down.
slow down. See, I don't,
That's the way she rolls?